Hey guys, before this video, I just want to pop in to say that this is actually, my non-spoiler review for Crescent City. I'm gonna have a non-spoiler review and then parts 1 and 2 a spoiler review. I just had a lot to say about this book. There was a lot to unpack about it. So, this part's gonna be the non-spoiler review, and then the next two parts are gonna be filled with spoilers. It was just like, I was looking at the timestamps for how long I had talked about this book, and I had a lot to say about this book. So I'm going to split it up into 3 parts. This will be the non-spoiler, so go ahead and watch this if you haven't read Crescent City. But if you want to see my spoiler-filled thought, I will be posting that later. So that's why there is no intro to this one, and also no outro. Well, there's an intro, different intro, but there's also an outro at the end of this. So that's why it's all weird and wonky. Because I was talking about this book for hours, and I decided that I was just gonna split it up to talk about it. But this will definitely be, like, I'm just gonna state it now. It's not gonna be a rant video. I know a lot of people like my rant videos. This is more of a gush about Crescent City because I did really enjoy it, which you'll see in the non-spoiler section and the spoiler section because I talked about this book for hours, and I don't usually do that. But when I really enjoy something or I really hate it, I'll talk about it for hours on end. So I just want to give people a warning before that. But this is definitely non-spoiler, so go ahead and watch this if you want to. If not, I'll have a spoiler review up pretty soon. I just want to give like a disclaimer at the start of this. So if my reviews abruptly end, that's why. So let's get into the non-spoiler review. Hey guys, it's Sarah from Book Nerds and Fangirls, and I am super excited for today because today we are discussing Crescent City. Today we're discussing Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. Now, this is Sarah J. Maas's new adult fantasy series. If you're wondering what exactly category it fits in the fantasy world, because fantasy is such a broad spectrum, I would classify this as urban fantasy. Some people are saying it's high fantasy, but it's not. It's more of an urban setting, so if you don't like urban fantasies, this is probably not the Sarah J. Maas book for you. I know a lot of people go into it thinking it'll be a high fantasy, like, I believe Throne of Glass and A Court of Thorns and Roses are fantasy as well. I believe it's more high fantasy. Correct me if I'm wrong with that one because I don't know what she categorizes them in. But this is her first adult novel in here, so there's a lot of adult themes. Now, one question that is constantly asked is, if you are a fan of Sarah J. Maas and you're a little bit younger, say, still in your teenagehood, could you read this book? I guess it depends on your limits. Like, if sex doesn't bother you, or cuss words, or a little bit of blood and gore and violence, then I would say, yeah, go ahead and read this book. But if you know it's something that your parents wouldn't be wanting you to read, like, it depends on your level of reading and what you're comfortable with. I will not personally suggest that you go out and read this. I believe it's strictly for older teens at that. I believe, like, if you're 16 and up, it would probably be fine for you to read, because what 16-year-old hasn't heard cuss words or had to deal with some kind of experience that has to do with drugs or sex, like, I know there's still a lot of teenagers out there that have not had to deal with this, but where I grew up, it was pretty much a given that you would have to deal with most of these themes. So whenever I was a teenager, I would also read urban adult fantasy. I remember reading Rochelle Mead's urban adult fantasy novels, which is how I got into urban fantasy to begin with, because Rochelle Mead is an urban fantasy author. Now, like, I don't know how to explain it. Urban fantasy is my shit. I love it so much. So this book, I loved. I know there's a lot of conflicting opinions about this book. A lot of people gave it a 1 star. I gave it a 5 stars. And that's okay. We could all have difference of opinion. We could all like what we like and dislike what we dislike. I have heard some of the negative reviews. I think their points are valid. But I was here for a cheesy urban fantasy romance, and that's exactly what I got from this book. Now, with Sarah J. Maas fans, it's kind of like, I know that I'm like somewhere in the middle when it comes to Sarah J. Maas novels. Like, I love Crescent. Like, I absolutely adored it. Like, I love these characters so much. And I want the second book in my hand right now, but I know it's not gonna come for a long time. I think the next book that comes out is actually her Nesta and Cassian one, which was like the 4th book in the Court of Thorns and Roses series, so I know that's gonna come next, and we'll probably get the second book next year. Fingers crossed, maybe 2 years from now. I really hope it's good. But my main gripe about this one so far, getting 1 star, is that I remember that none of Sarah J. Maas's first novels were that great. Like, I read Throne of Glass and I absolutely hated it. I don't get the hype about Throne of Glass. I'm gonna state this right now. I know a lot of people would probably want me to read the Throne of Glass novels. I just think, I don't know, I've tried. I really have. It has been 4 years since I've read the original Throne of Glass. I had no interest in picking up Crown of Midnight, and when I did, I didn't mesh well with it. And then I heard that it stems off from what it originally was, and usually I don't mind that, but I'm not having it with this series. I already know who the main character ends up with, and I'm just like, eh. And then it's just like, then I just feel like the other love interests were just thrown in there, just be thrown in there. Does that make sense? Like, I don't like that plot point. But whenever it comes to Sarah J. Maas novels, one thing that also scares me, like, I don't like the Throne of Glass books. And I know that's a very unpopular opinion. I know several people love them, but I feel like we are all adults in some way, shape, or form here. So it's alright if you guys love those books. They're not for me. I've tried. I really have. I'm like on chapter 13 of Crown of Midnight right now, and it's just not meshing well with me. I think it's mostly because I don't like Selena as a character, which is weird because I've read reviews that Bryce is kind of Selena-esque, and I'm just like, I wouldn't say so. I know that she has a lot of her snarkiness, that's for sure. And some of her humor, which is, like, some of the things that I liked about Selena. I just didn't like how she would have to constantly I wouldn't say she constantly has to put people down, but I really don't like when she's all like, why do you care about me so much? There's a lot about Selena's character that I don't like. If you want to see why I don't like Selena Sardofian, I will leave my Throne of Glass book review somewhere, but her character did not get better, has not gotten better in the second book, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna grit my teeth through 3 books of a character I don't like just to get to the good part of the series, as some people described it. I think I'm just gonna, like, there's other fantasies that I want to read, and I'm okay with not reading Throne of Glass. I'm okay with it. Okay, but if you want, like, a video about popular book series that I will not touch because, 1, the hype is big, and 2, I just didn't gel off it, comment down below and let me know. I will definitely make that video. But I feel like there's other books that I would love to continue with. But I was rambling on about, like, Sarah J. Maas series and the first books. Like, a lot of people give this crap because it's not very objectively good, I believe, is what they said, and it's very insta-lovey. But I remember, like, every other book that Sarah J. Maas has written. Like, Throne of Glass has a lot of 1 to 2 star reviews in it, but Akatar had a lot of 2-star reviews as well. Not a lot of people liked the first book in A Court of Thorns and Roses, but then the second book saved the series, so I feel like it will probably follow that. I feel like once people read the second book, they'll definitely get more into it. I love this first book. I actually think this is actually one of my favorite Sarah J. Maas novels to this date. Don't get me wrong, I love A Court of Thorns and Roses, but I feel like I definitely relate more to Bryce Quinlan than I do, like, any other character, and we'll get into why in a minute, but I love the characters in this one. I don't think there was, like, a single character that well, scratch that, there are a couple characters that I hate in this book, but it's because it's a well-deserved hatred. As far as love goes, the love story goes in this one, I know a lot of people complain that it's insta-lovey. I personally don't really agree with that. That I could understand how it's insta-lovey to some people, but I feel like the main couple in this one, I'm not gonna spoil it for the people who haven't read it yet, but I feel like the main couple in here is more insta-attraction, and then towards the end it kind of teeters into the insta-love category, but I feel like there are, like, circumstances in this book that makes the insta-love plausible, if that makes sense. Like, I don't like insta-love whenever it doesn't make sense, but if it makes sense, then that's fine. Like I said, I'm not really the hugest fan of insta-love. If you remember correctly, I do not like the daughter of Smokin' Bones by Laini Taylor, because I feel like that is very insta-love. But as far as, like, the main couple in this one goes, I feel like they have an attraction towards each other, and I feel like they do mesh well together, and they bond over their shared grief, and I feel like that's why it works. Sometimes people just click. Sometimes people, I wouldn't say that. Sometimes people feel instantly attracted to each other, and they move on with their relationship pretty fast, and then they're together for years. So I get why people don't really like insta-love and don't think that actually realistically happens, and sometimes, yeah, you're right, sometimes it doesn't happen, but I've actually met a couple that only knew each other for, like, well, actually, it was one of my friend's parents. I believe they only had dated for like 3 months before they were already in love and engaged and stuff like that. But they're still together up to this point, and I believe it's been like 25 to 26 years, too. So sometimes that does happen. So I'm not gonna do that. Also, in the non-spoilery part, I want to say that this book does a really good job with mental health representation. The character in here does have depression and anxiety and survivor's guilt, I believe. I wouldn't say it's, like, survivor's guilt by any means, but I believe she has PTSD. Like, she has PTSD, she has depression, and she has anxiety, and I feel like it is dealt with very well in this book. I feel like Sarah J. Maas is really good with mental health representation. Like, we get Feyre suffering from PTSD in A Court of Thorns and Roses. I haven't read through the Throne of Glass series, but I can imagine mental health representation is also present in those books too. Like, I really love how we could have mental health representation in fantasy books. Because the event that changes Bryce's life in here, it definitely warrants some mental health representation, and I do enjoy that, as well as the overall themes of grief and what it's like to still be grieving years past when everyone else has moved on with their life. I love that representation. I also love the couple in here. I know a lot of people have problems with it, but I feel like since it's pretty much, like, built up because of their shared mutual grief and respect for each other. I feel like it's a very healthy and mutual relationship, actually. Actually, it could go either way of me. Like, if they don't end up together, I'll be devastated for some time. But I really do hope the couple in here actually at least stays friends. Because I really don't like, in books when couples just, like, split up. And then they, like, totally treat each other like shit, like they didn't love each other at some point. I feel like if the two people in this one broke up, they would still probably be friends of each other because they've been through so much shit together. So it wouldn't make sense for them to hate each other like Farrah and Tamlin do. But I'm really hoping that they at least stay friends. And I feel like this book also has strong themes about friendship and what it would be like to lose someone who you were once friends with. That's done pretty well as lost love representation, which is kind of like losing one of your loved ones or losing someone that things. And it also has, like, guilt of, like, I also feel like one of the other main characters deals a lot with being, I wouldn't say like, he's a personal assassin he has to kill to pay off debts in this book, but I feel like that's done pretty well. The guilt of having to do that, and basically the guilt eating him alive because of it and what he does. Like, we'll talk more about that in the spoiler section, because I feel like that's very well done, too. I feel like that's definitely done well. That's something in the Throne of Glass books that I wish had been done well. Well, but it just wasn't for me. But I love the mental health representation in here. I love the couple in here. I love the strong themes of friendship in this one. And I love the characters, and I love the urban fantasy setting, and I actually like that we have, this isn't really a spoiler because it's literally, if you flip to the front of the book, can I, like, where is that thesaurus? Is it a thesaurus? I don't know. It's like, I have something in here. If I could find it, that'd be nice. One thing I love is that we have the houses of Midgard, which is funny because every time I think of Midgard, I think of Thor. Am I right? Is it called Midgard in Thor? I don't know. But I love how we have the houses here, and we have so many creatures here. They're spread out throughout the novel. But we haven't got, like, all the creatures here. We have a lot of fae and angel representation in this one. Which I enjoy. Like, I enjoy fae books now. And angels were my shit when I was younger. And I'm surprised how much I have gone back into liking angels. So I actually really enjoy this. I don't know if this is a retelling of anything, like how Throne of Glass was a retelling of Cinderella, and A Court of Thorns and Roses is obviously a Beauty and the Beast retelling, while A Court of Mist and Fury is a Haze and Persephone retelling. I don't know if this is a retelling about anything, but I think I'll have to look at, see if there's a question here. Also, we follow, like, 3 main characters in this one. So if you don't really like third-person perspectives, I would stay away from this book because it also is a third-person perspective. But I also, like, enjoy that. I've been talking for a while, and it's barely the non-spoiler section, but I would also like to say that this cover is gorgeous. This is hands down one of the most gorgeous book covers I have ever seen. And I'm so happy to have a physical copy now because I had to listen to it on Audible. Not sponsored by Audible, by the way. I really wish I was, but I'm not. No, I listened to this on audiobook, and the audiobook narrator who audio narrates for Throne of Glass is also narrating this one, which is weird because I listened to both audiobook narrations, and she has a different voice for Selena than she does Bryce. And I thought I was listening to a totally separate person when I was listening to this, but she definitely made the book fly through. Also, there's a lot of info dumping in the first chapter, so please be aware of that. The first couple of chapters are very info dumpy, and this book is probably 150 pages longer than it needs to be. But it's an adult novel, so adult novels tend to be heftier, filled with a lot of useless information that we don't really need to know. I feel like that's most adult novels, actually. So I could see how a lot of people just didn't really like the info dump. I was alright with it. I felt like the audio narration for this one was a lot better to get through it. I felt like if I had been reading that with my own eyes, I would have put it down, which is why I liked listening to it on audiobook, so I could be doing my work while listening to the information that I provided. But there's like a lot of cool things and elements in this book. So I'm gonna say goodbye right here. I'm gonna get into spoilers for this one. So if you have not read Crescent City yet, it's up to you if you want to read this book or not. I'm not gonna force anyone to read it. I know it's not everyone's thing. I would say if you're a fan of Sarah J. Maas, you'll actually like this book, but I know a lot of Sarah J. Maas fans who didn't like this book, so I wouldn't even know that. I would just, like, go in it probably knowing that it's not like her other series. Like, she takes a lot of different elements of her other series to put in here, which I could say happens a lot for every single author. So please beware of that. And also please beware that this is not high fantasy by any means. It's more urban fantasy. Urban fantasy than anything. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like since I read so much contemporary and urban fantasy, it was just like a mix of those two. And I also like romance, is why I love this book so much. 1, I love romance. 2, I love urban fantasy, and 3, I do like paranormal romance as well. So I feel like since I've read all that, and I'm also a huge fan of mental health representation in books and strong female friendships, I feel like that is why I loved this book so much. Now, if you don't like any of those, I would stray away from this book. There's plenty of other books to go read. Go ahead and read those ones. But I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna get into spoilers. I'm gonna get into what I did and didn't like about this book, and I'm gonna have like a huge conversation about the main couple in this one because I adore them. I know a lot of people don't ship them, which is fine. I totally understand and get it, but I do. I love them. They're like my precious cinnamon rolls at the moment. So, goodbye, non-spoilery people. Go read Crescent City if you want to. Actually, I believe this book actually has the Earth and Blood. I feel like she probably should have had it like somewhere right here because I didn't think this was the actual title right here. I thought Crescent City was it, but I don't know. So go read Crescent City, go enjoy it. When you come back, read the spoiler. Listen to my spoiler section if you want to. So bye, non-spoilery people. Let's get into this book.